This is Ryan with Roundnet.
This is Dane Clement with Great Dane Graphics.
Perry Oster with Equipment Zone.
Pierre from the Shirtport.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys
podcast,
hosted by Aaron Montgomery and Terry Combs. Hope you enjoy the show.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. It's Friday, July 20th, 2018. I'm Terry Combs with Equipment Zone. You can also find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at aaronmontgomery.info. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject I know a lot of our listeners can actually relate to, updating and growing a decoration business with some family history. So going to be a great conversation. We're bringing in Erik Mickelson of Northwest Custom Apparel to talk about the process of updating his long operating shop, and our show producer, Eric Campbell. So we get a lot of Erics today. It's going to be fun. We'll be jumping in on the conversation too. So it is going to be a great show today. Looking forward to it. But Terry, what about some news items here first?
Sure, absolutely. The first thing I have, Aaron, is China is vowing retaliation on the new U.S. tariffs on textiles. And anybody who's out there as a decorator knows that if you look inside a cap, chances are it says China inside. So the retaliation they're talking about is going to be 10%. 10% levy worth about $200 billion, and that's going to include textiles, hat, footwear, and all that's according to Women's Wear Daily. We'll see how that shakes out. It may end up being nothing at all, repercussions of all things around the world. So we'll see how that works. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, let's see how that works. If you, we'll post a link to this whole article, and I was actually reading ahead, and it's interesting. They make some claims, but didn't really have any plan in place. So I don't think we need to freak out just yet. But be prepared.
Aaron, and for anybody who doesn't know, when you hear Women's Wear Daily, that may be kind of foreign to you. But for anybody that's in retail, the buyers at Macy's, places like that, Women's Wear Daily for decades has been the newspaper of choice for anybody in the sportswear industry. So not so much among people who do decoration like our listeners, but it's certainly well-known, well-respected paper, and I certainly something I used to read because my dad was in retail, and so that was something that you always took a look at. So just like reading the Wall Street Journal.
I thought that was odd that you had all those copies of Women's Wear Daily around your house when I was there, but now I know.
Other news items?
Yes, let's keep going before we fall down the hole further. All right. Well, the one that came across me that really kind of stood out to me, and I think this is interesting, and I'll explain more, but let me read it first. Etsy increased their seller's fee. So as of July 16th, about 4 days ago, Etsy sellers will see an increase on the transaction fee from 3.5% to 5%, along with the new 5% fee on the shipping costs that you're charging. So there are some producers in the personalization industry that use that platform. I get to work with a lot of those folks over at Pick the Gift as their primary tool, and others use it to apparel to customer convenience and expanding their range of potential customers and beyond their brick and mortar shop. So there's lots of people over there. Though this increase is seemingly small, some may wonder if it's actually a cause for concern. And I would say, like I said, I get a chance to work with a lot of folks that do a lot of business on Etsy, and it is definitely a cause for concern. Like I said, it's just a small fee increase, but it's can be pretty substantial. You're talking about kind of really thinning out those margins, and the Etsy seller fees were already a little bit high. So my take is, this is a perfect opportunity to kind of reevaluate and understand what your business really is all about and where it should be. This is just like having a Facebook page, or just like, promoting your business through one of these other people's services. You're building your house on rented land. So, these things can happen. And if you're not prepared to, hey, how do I get my customers over to my site where I don't have to pay a 5% fee to sell to them? those kinds of things. So anyhow, just an interesting take, something to take a look at. I think it kind of hits home for some people to kind of regroup and make sure they get back to owning their customers and not just renting their customers from a site like Facebook or Etsy or whatever. So,
Aaron, along those lines as well. Yes, there are a lot of folks on there who are making really good money, operate professionally. There are also a lot of folks there who, are a fairly small business, if they consider it a business at all, and maybe pricing their products just kind of on a whim. And this might be reevaluation time about, hey, am I really making money doing this?
Yeah. Totally. No, I think it's good. And we talked about this a long time ago, Terry. We've been doing this podcast for over 6 years, and we've talked about that with the ebbs and flows of business. Sometimes, the things that seem really bad, the economy tanking and things like that, in the long run, actually do good. It kind of thins the herd a little bit.
Exactly.
It allows the folks like Erik we're going to talk to today, allows those companies to continue to thrive because they're doing it right. So anyhow, well, let's see here, Terry. We've got some good stuff to talk about. I do want to remind everybody, stay tuned to the end of the show. I'm going to be sharing 5 things I got from my wife, things that she learned as a new small business owner. She's been selling Rodan and Fields for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And I asked her this morning at breakfast, what have you learned? And there we go. We had 5 things.
Fantastic. Well, she should be on the air doing these.
I asked, but
you were denied, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, we appreciate everybody listening to the show, and we, as Aaron mentioned, this is our 6th season, so we are very pleased to be bringing this show to you since February 2013. We always avoid the rants and lecturing, and we would love for you to visit our webpage, which is 2 regularguys.com. Check out the show notes from previous shows. We'll have some links from today's show on there as well. Anytime we mention somebody's website or some reference that they have, we always have it on our website. So go there. We also look for your suggestions for future shows. So you can do that at our contact us page at 2regularguys.com. We're also all over social media, as any regular listener knows. So you can find us at 2 Regular Guys and all social media outlets. And if you're watching us live right now on Facebook Live, we would love to have your comments and your questions and be a part of the show. We'd love to have you involved. But now let's hear a word from SGIA, our sponsor, Specialty Graphic Imaging Association, about the upcoming SGIA Expo.
Hi, this is SGIA's Dan Marks, inviting you to attend the SGI Expo in Las Vegas this October. We're going to show you what's on the horizon, with more than 500 exhibitors showing the latest in dye sub, screen, embroidery, DTG, and more. We have 72 educational sessions, including a garment decoration track, and a special luncheon just for garment decorators. Registration is free through September 19th. Learn more at sgia.org/expo2rg.
All right. And make sure that you use that /2RG when you go to sgia.org. And Aaron, every time I hear that commercial, I think I should be slow dancing at my senior prom.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Well, before we go, I want to get a couple of comments that have already popped up, just some hellos this morning. So hello, Mary Ann. Thanks for tuning in. She also shared, this will really help my little business. So we are excited for that. That's why we do this each week. And let's see, we got Christine Shreve checking in, fresh off vacation, according to her social media feeds. So, of course,
that was a brief vacation. She was our guest last Friday.
I know. It was quick. So, and of course, what she wants to be doing post vacation is hanging out with us. So that's pretty awesome. And Nancy, good morning. Good to see you. And good stuff. Okay. All right, Terry. Well, let's first and foremost, let's bring in our producer, our special guest host today, Erik Campbell, and clicking some buttons while I'm doing that. Erik Campbell of ericcampbell.com, and you can also find him over at Deco Network. Erik is going to be part of this interview today, and I'm going to listen in. So are you ready to welcome in Erik?
Yeah, this isn't going to get confusing at all.
We're going to have to go with Erich, your rapper name, buddy.
Oh boy.
There
I'd
it
be
is.
rich for the whole rest of the show, right? All right. No, I'm absolutely happy to welcome in Erik. And so let's go ahead and give him a proper introduction outside of the E-Rich jokes. So aside from having the best first name ever, Erik Mickelson is the operations manager at Northwest Custom Apparel and Embroidery with an education and business administration. But you may know him as a frequent contributor in industry social media groups such as Screen Print Marketing, where I get to see some of the stuff he's sharing all the time. And he's been sharing progress in bringing his 41-year-old company that's started by his father, Jim, into the current and correct procedures and policies that he feels and he needs to grow the business. So welcome to the show, Erik.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. Thanks, Erik.
Oh, absolutely. Happy to bring you in. Yeah, this is going to get confusing, isn't it?
E-Rich.
E-Rich.
Yes.
All right, Erik. Well, before we get anything else started, why don't you tell us just a little bit about how your shop started and what it was like growing up in the family business? I mean, did you always think you'd be running it later?
I had a background when I was going to school. I went to school for an accounting degree, and so I always thought in the back of my mind I'd come back and help my dad. But the business originally started in 1977. My dad, Jim, he was working on the pipeline up in Alaska, the transatlantic pipeline in Prudhoe Bay, and he was an accountant up there. And a lot of the construction companies, they wanted hats, something to give away to say, hey, we're working on the pipeline. So my dad got this crazy idea, found a hat company, I believe, on the East Coast, and started ordering hats, bringing them over here, and then bringing them up to Alaska. And since he was an executive up in Prudhoe Bay, he had access to the corporate jet. So we could put the hats on in Seattle and fly them up north and sell them up there. So I think his first order, he brought 300 hats. He sold them in front of his desk, and he sold all of them, 300 hats out in 1 or 2 days. And he says, wow, this is a great idea. And kept on doing it. Then he decided to hey, maybe I should start getting into the business. He looked around and he said he got so good, he bought his first 11 head. Wow. It was a Barrett and started producing. And then the business got so good, he quit his job with the Atlantic Richfield and fully opened shop here in Tacoma, Washington, and kept on going. Then he got some good customers. One notable customer was called Blue Ribbon Sportswear, and now you know the company as Nike. So wow. that was the first order that kept his 11 head going, and that lasted for about a couple of years, and that gave him the capital to keep on going. For example, as 1977, the wages were, say $250 for an embroidery machine operator an hour, and then you're selling that Nike swoosh for say $5. Yeah. So you do the math. So that lasted for about 2 years, and finally Nike got smart and went over to C's. Now, and now that swoosh is 10 cents. So, and after that, we started doing. There's a lot of apparel manufacturing around here in the Seattle area. We had Eddie Bauer, LL Bean, Britannia. Matter of fact, as I was going through our old records, I found a drawing of the Van Halen logo, and my dad didn't remember, but I guess the band came down here and we did some patches for them. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's just a lot of history. So that means, did you really kind of grow up in the shop?
Yeah. I mean, I came down here when he started, I was 4 years old. I'd come down here and help him fix the machines, clean the toilets, do shipping and receiving. So, yeah.
But you weren't there on Van Halen Day? How did you miss that?
I was too young. I think that the date stamp on that was 1979. So I would have been about 5 years old. So.
Now we're gonna throw that around because I started my screen printing business in 1979. But
and this is the part where I always make Terry feel really bad and go, "Oh yeah, right when I was born."
I think everybody, though, all our listeners love to hear those stories about how companies started and something that I talk about a lot on the show. When your dad decided, hey, I'm going to put some hats on the corporate jet and sell them out from my desk. I always call that thinking like an entrepreneur, and somebody that does something like that is never going to be sitting behind that desk for long.
No,
they're going to go out and continue thinking like an entrepreneur. So we love to hear those stories. But when Erik E-Rich brought up the idea of this show, I thought, oh my gosh, what a fabulous idea, because there are so many businesses out there that have been operating especially in our industry, for a lot of years, and at some point in time, you have to kind of look at those old good enough policies and things, the way that we used to do things. And and kind of regroup your company. And you certainly don't want to make a new company, but you can certainly bring the company into 2018. So what kind of policies did you find needed changing the most, and what new policies have you put together to get those correct procedures?
Well, sure. So when my dad first started, there was actually no training because it was the Wild West. Matter of fact, there's our first digitizer came back to visit us this week, and literally he graduated high school and was walking on Tacoma Avenue. I saw a help wanted sign, and he's working that day trying to figure out how to do digitizing. And here's something cool. Eric will probably understand what this is, but you know what this is?
Yep, paper tape, folks.
Oh, heck yeah.
Paper tape. So that is how we did digitizing. So it's about a 5,000 stitch logo on this. So that's where we started doing that. But yeah, it was really no policies or procedures back then because everything was learning on the fly. And as things progressed, we got bigger and bigger. And we have a lot of employees that have been with us for 20, 25 years, but they were still in the mindset of Jim and the gang. And it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So, but recently I've been bringing in some procedures and policies. What's been helping me is Mark Dre going through that screen print marketing Facebook site. And what really gets me is there's these guys out there, they've been there for 5 years doing screen printing, and they're doing better than us. I was just so I was just trying to figure out what was going on. But the thing is, they have procedures and policies and accountability with their employees. First thing I did is just kind of go through the workflow and see what's going on. And the first notable one was in our production department, Embroidery, is we weren't checking our designs for thread colors and all that before it even got to the machine. So we'd have an issue and it was already on the machine. So we'd have to stop the machine, call the customer, and then make the adjustments there. So then
the cursed downtime.
Oh gosh. So then I implemented, we're going to have an embroidery checker. So her job is just to check the designs, make sure the thread colors are correct before it gets to the machine so we can solve the problem before it gets there. But trying to get the older employees to change, it's really difficult. We have machine operators that have been with us 25 years. They've done it the same way forever. They ran their 4-head. I wanted to get her to move over to 8-head, and it was just tough. But you just got to go slow. The key is you got to get buy-in from the employees. I can't just go out there and say, this is how it's going to be done. We got to kind of have to do it as a group effort. But it just goes back. You have to make job descriptions and what you expect out of them, and bring some accountability in there instead of running in the gym and doing what's next, boss.
So it's really about kind of increasing their autonomy a little bit, making sure that they know what's going on ahead of time and that everybody's got a purpose and the workflow is really cooked down and makes sense to everybody. It seems like you had some of that quality assurance stuff that you have to do before, in the prep stage, before you get into the machine, before you get out there.
Correct. Yeah. So everybody has now their job description, what they're expected to do. And the employees love it because now they can come to work and they know exactly what to do. Like Mark Cadre has a term called CPR, consistent, predictable, and repeatable. So I'm trying to make that with every job here instead of you showing up to work and you don't know what's going to happen. So consistency.
So how have you been communicating that to people? Like, how have you gotten the folks who are already there on board, and how are you making sure that the new hires know how to operate, know what your culture and what their job is?
Well, we just hired 2 new people for our customer service and 1 for our digital printer. And in the past, we had no training whatsoever. My dad's was training. You walk in and hand them a phone and start calling customers. So now I have a training room. So we're training the customer service people. So we're starting with our core values, respect, excellence, accountability, compassion, and honesty. And then we're building them around the culture before I even teach them how to go into our shop works and put an order in. So they go through, they learn embroidery, they learn digital print, they learn what the artist does, what's digitizing. So this is our first week of doing it, and it's working really well. And I blocked out times for training. In the past, I couldn't train because I was putting out fires. There would be employees running in here, customers on the phone, the toilet's clogged, and then the trainees would just stand there and then get out of control. Then they go answer the phone and it's completely over. So I'm blocking out times and doing the training properly.
So with all these changes going on, I mean, it seems like you said your employees are liking it. They understand what's going on. They like the account, not only just being the accountability everywhere, but knowing what the expectations are, being really clear. How has your dad been? How's Jim been seeing you make these changes?
My dad likes chaos, I found out. So he comes to work and he goes like, there's nothing going on. I go like, what do you mean? We have orders in, everything's running smooth. He goes like, this is bizarre. Cause usually he judges things on the phone ringing, and he doesn't realize like a lot of orders coming through email and text messages and off the website. And he goes like, oh, the phones aren't ringing. Nobody's picking up the phone. Everything's going bad. And, the best thing ever is my dad and I went down to Mexico 2 weeks ago for about 3 or 4 days, came back and everything was running perfectly. And then, so that's when you know the both of us can leave and you come back and the plant's still functioning perfectly, no problems.
That's really funny. You say that. I did. We at the end of each of our shows we have it's 5 things, and it's just 5 bullet points on how to do something. And my 5 things last week was things to do before you go on vacation as an owner or manager. And the bonus 6th thing was, if you can't do this, you're doing it wrong. But hey, I want to kind of jump back to the transition, and this isn't on our outline, but when you first started transitioning the business, and you said you had to take it slow, but did you have a lot of employees sitting there in the room looking at each other like, oh, this is never going to work?
A lot of them bought into it, but we had a couple, 2 or 3 bad eggs. And, with a small company, that those 2 people could be the cancer that ruins it all.
Exactly.
Like we had a machine operator, been here 25 years, and she's going to retire in 10 months. And then I started bringing it up, and her first reaction was, come on, Eric, I got 10 months to go. I don't want to learn anything new. And she was the one that only knew how to run an embroidery, 4-head embroidery machine. So we finally got her moved over to 8-head, but that took 2 months. So, but everybody, they pretty much bought into it, and we got a great group of people. Everybody, their heart's into it, and they do a great job, but they just want to know what to do, and they really appreciate it.
I think it's also once they start seeing success, that it really is a boulder rolling downhill. Then they're really bought in, and then they're anxious for change.
Well, yeah, definitely a success, and it's making their jobs a lot easier.
Right.
When I broke down the processes, so like, for example, 3 people had to do extra work just to make 1 person happy, whereas because the machine operator was dictating like, oh, well, Jim says I don't have to count the garment. Jim says I don't have to trim. Jim says I don't have to do the backing. And we put an end to that. So
I always, when I do my seminars, I always ask for a show of hands. Who has employees? And then everybody that raises their hand, I always say, and your life changed forever that day, didn't it? They're like, oh my gosh. But hey, we have to have employees to grow our businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
But Eric, shops can get comfortable not only in the way they handle their people, but even in production methods and equipment. Have you taken any steps to update your production line, and how's that made a difference for you?
Well, I'll give you an example. We had a very nice employee worked for us for 30 years, and we were using a certain type of needle that was like outdated, like back to 1985. And I go to the employee, I go like, why are we using this needle? Her response was, Jim told me to. That was 20 years ago that he told me. But they didn't even look. They didn't even like ask the needle supplier, is there anything new that we could come out with? It's just, that's the way it is. So we're trying to get people to think out of the box on that. But production wise, we've added direct to garment printing. We've added some newer equipment, some embroidery machines, but the direct to garment's really picking up. So we're very pleased with that, with the Cornettes.
Well, what we found is with a lot of businesses, like your own business that's been around for a long time, and when I started out as a screen printer, you only did one thing, and businesses that are growing, and Mark Coudray is the first guy to say this to you: if you're not doing some type of digital decoration, you're going to be left behind. So. Kudos to you for expanding out into different decoration methods, because it's certainly going to be required of all of us.
Absolutely.
Well, the one thing I have to say, and I want to commend you on this, not only have you been testing and working on things, you're sharing it in the open. And I think that that's been something that like, I think you're probably iterating quicker than most people do because you're out in the open and you're not only in the decoration community, but in general, you're just doing new things and putting it out there all the time. So, I mean, production's important. And I have to say, especially with an existing, customer base, you certainly when you're going through the process of updating a shop, you have to keep on doing more stuff to get that production right. But I think you've been doing really cool things beyond production to that last step. I know Terry talks about that customer experience and finishing, but we've seen some cool things online. All those who follow you on Facebook or been in the groups that you're doing with like packaging and some of your social media marketing. What have you been changing about your marketing, and how has that affected your sales and how the company's run?
Well, my dad was always big in marketing. That was his philosophy. We started out in the days with direct mail, worked great. Newspaper advertisement worked fantastic. Even putting something in the phone book, and then outside sales, that worked really good too. But those days are over. You got to get into the social game. So what I do is with the screen print marketing is I just come up with crazy ideas. I throw it out into the screen print marketing, get your comments and stuff. And if you guys say, yay, I go for it. If not, I think of something different. But you always got to be consistently thinking of ideas. For example, here's one I put together for St. Patrick's Day. And what it is I call it the WOW box. It's a St. Patrick's Day box. And then we mail these out to our good customers. And inside was a T-shirt, a St. Patrick's Day T-shirt. But it was a directed garment. So we had their logo on the St. Patrick's Day T-shirt. So the T-shirt, a beer mug, and a bottle opener. And we got a few orders, but it just kind of promoted goodwill that we're taking care of the customers.
And for any of our podcast listeners, it wasn't a brown box. It's a fully decorated box with logos and a bright green St. Patrick's images on it. So a great promotional piece.
And we do that, and then we're getting into video. Matter of fact, now we're trying to make let's see, I guess a sitcom series that kind of makes fun of the 80s sitcom. So we had our first, the intro to it yesterday on Facebook. So now we have to come up with episode 1. And if you guys have any suggestions, what you want us to do, let us know, but it'll be fun.
I know Aaron was commenting about that earlier, and I didn't get a chance to see that yet, but hey, as long as you have a laugh track, I'm totally into the 80s sitcoms.
Laugh tracks are coming, definitely.
Yeah, you guys have to go see it. I mean, it's a super like Full House style intro. It's hilarious, and honestly, it's not just that. We saw you also do you did some training videos for your CSR people that were like that, really fun, but absolutely like they did go through the steps of your CSR, the people, the customer service, and how it was to have a customer come in. And I think some of that innovative stuff you guys are doing is it's really incredible, especially when you're talking about a shop like that that's been around. I mean, the shop that I came from, it's coming up on 30 years, and I've just talked to the owners of my old shop I used to work at, and they're like, yep, we kind of doing the same thing. And I'm like, boy, that's the thing that kills you, though. The worst reason to ever do anything is, well, that's just the way we've always done it, because it's not a reason. Exactly. So seeing you guys do this new stuff is super cool, especially that you're sharing it and getting it out there. And what I'd like to tell people is don't be afraid to be yourself, to have some character, to have some fun. You should see the stuff that they're doing over at Northwest.
Well, and you're right about that, Erik's, because there's a lot of really dull, drab information out there on the internet. So if you can have a little fun and at the same time share some good information, you're going to definitely separate yourself from the pack. But Erik, with the longstanding businesses like yours, sometimes the customers are also kind of stuck in the old ways. Have you had to make any changes? And people come in saying, "Oh, I need to speak to your dad."
That's the scary one. We've got customers for 40 years. They come in and talk to the customer service, and they say, "Where's Jim? Where's Brian, our old salesperson?" It just, I need to talk to Jim. They just walk right past our front counter and go right to his the office. And the thing is, the worst part is the last person you want to write the order is my dad, Jim, because he'll get it 50% done, then take a vacation in Mexico and forget about it. So if you want to work with Jim, and not have your order done, go see Jim.
Well, what else have you had to change about your customer service procedures?
First of all, I got a book. I don't know everything, so I got a book as Customer Service Training 101. So I've been going through that. But we're just taking care of the customer when they come in. We're striking up a conversation, and we're just trying to build that personal connection of our company with the customer. Because if we don't have that connection, it's easy just going to Google and buy T-shirts. But we want to make the customer feel special every time they call or stop in or send an email. But, it's that personal connection that my dad started back in 1977 that we want to keep moving forward to the future.
Absolutely.
So how did your customers take all this? I mean, have you had people still rebelling, or most of them pretty on board with the new staff?
Oh, they're pretty much on board, but you still get that customer that had the special price, and we just said we can't honor that. So they leave for 6 months and then go to somewhere else, but they always come back. So it's good. I mean,
the fishing buddy price, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you find that your prices were slightly out of date? I mean, I know, like I said, once again, the shop that I came from, working as a family shop, we found like there were things where even when I first came in, I'm like, wow, guys, you're really cheap on X, X, and X. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, you know, customers don't like change. And like, when do you do that? Well, it's about 10 years ago we set the new prices. Did you find that there was some of that going on in your shop?
Oh, yeah. My dad still can't get over you can charge $15 for a baseball hat. He goes like, well, I used to only charge like $4. So, but we had a slight price increase, and no complaints whatsoever, because they buy from us because we give them the service, the delivery, and the quality. Our shop's kind of out of the way. So if the customer is going to take 30 minutes to drive out here to our showroom, we got about a 98% closing rate when they walk through that showroom. So we got a lot of great customers.
Well, it seems like to me that you guys provide this value that's really unique. And not only do you have a long-standing company that's not going to disappear in 6 months, which that's the other thing I always tell people when they're price shopping too much. If somebody's giving you a price that's outlandish, I always tell them, yeah, go ahead and go to that person. You'll be back to me in 6 months when they close. Just make sure you got your files in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not only do you have a long-standing shop, but you guys have a lot of great customer service. So I think that I just want to have everybody hear once again from you. It's like, they did not freak out, the customers, when the prices went up. They understand the value of your shop.
They understand it. I mean, the way I look at it is we do a lot of business with contractors, and to drive a backhoe, they charge $100, $200 an hour. And then we get $60 an hour for artwork, and they sometimes complain, but go figure. But no,
right, exactly. I want to say real quick also, if any of our viewers on Facebook right now have any questions, throw them up there. And but before we end this segment, and we'd love to have Erik answer those questions for you.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, that's great to hear that, because, I mean, everybody thinks people are going to freak out immediately on a price change, but that's really not how it generally tends to go. It seems like when there's real value behind it, people will understand and will come with you. And especially because you guys have existing relationships that are built. I think it is valuable. And I would assume you're a fixture in your community. Do you find that that's part of your big selling proposition too, that you kind of, the local niches, what you need to know?
Oh, yeah, we know everybody in our community. It's a small community. We got a big sign outside so people drive by and come in and visit us. But, yeah, that's the key. Honestly, I don't think we ever need another customer again, just as long as we can service the customers that we have. So, yeah, it's been good. Just take care of your customers, and they'll keep on coming back.
That's awesome. So it looks like we have a question in here from one of our watchers here and listeners to the podcast. And she's had a small business, but she says the hardest part. She had somebody who came in who then took off suddenly and didn't come back until later. She was spoiled by this really great customer and this really great employee, and had some others that didn't work out. She said she finds all this difficult, wearing all the difficult hats because she's on her own, and she's in a commercial location. With 2 single heads and a 4-station 6-color manual press vinyl color laser engraver, doing it all by herself. So I got to say, yeah, employees are hard, but employees are good to have. So, thank you, Marion, for that commentary. She talked about that. What would you say your biggest challenge is right now with staffing?
Right now, I'm pretty happy with who we have right now, but it's difficult in this job market to hire. So I took time. It took me about 6 months to hire 2 new customer service people, and I'm very pleased on how they're doing coming along. So we're going to really up our game even more in the customer service on there. Getting back to that comment that was thrown up there about employees leaving. 4 weeks ago, we had 2 of our digital print operators leave, so we were down to 0 operators. So we had to make a quick hire. And but the cool thing is our employees all helped in to teach these the new operators to get up to speed and all that. But what we did, the hiring, we made a hiring video. That was the key. Is we made a fun hiring video for direct-to-garment printer operators, and that brought in about 30 applications. And without that video, previously we'd get maybe 2. So. If you
where
want to
did
make,
was that in social media that you shared that, or what vector did you use to share that video?
social media, and then I just Indeed.com. I put a link to the video. But boy, if you show them what we do, and we're a fun company, and how cool it is to print T-shirts, they're lined up. But if you don't promote the job, they're not going to come. So, and in the past, you'd never have to do that because everybody's looking for a job.
Well, in this market, people are having trouble finding those new hires. Think about that, folks. Show what the company's doing. That's really cool that they did a video, and that video really kind of gave a little hint of the culture that's there. But you said that the training was pretty easy because your other people who were working with you, your other employees kind of jumped in. Do you do cross training with your employees, or is that just them having the experience?
Well, yes, we're starting to do the cross training because a lot of our older employees have been with us, have retired. So now I can start doing cross training because the older employees would never do the cross training. So yeah, we're teaching the digital print operators that they're going to eventually learn how to do their embroidery machine. We're getting training people how to mirror emblems, do shipping and receiving. But yeah, it's key for that cross training because we're a small company, and when one person's out sick, you got to have somebody else jump in.
You know, it's interesting. Yeah, Christine Shreve jumped in and said the exact same thing, that how important cross training is, and I was thinking that when you're talking about your other employees jumping in and helping those new direct to garment operators, and it is critical because you don't know when something's going to happen, and employee maybe isn't leaving by choice, they're leaving because they have to, and so having multiple people understand how to get the product out the door is really, really important for a production operation.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, is there anything else just you'd like to share about the process of updating a family shop? Just what resources maybe that have helped you working on this, and how do you feel about these new goals and the resources you've been using to get those set and underway?
Well, my first motivation was going down to ThreadX down in Palm Springs back in January and talking to the other people in our industry and how they're growing. And I'm just scratching my head. How are these guys just kicking so much butt? And I'm just sitting here like pulling my hair out with stuff. And it all came back down to procedures, accountability, and processes. So I've actually taken 2 steps back to probably take 1,000,000 steps forward. So we're just going to pump the brakes, get the training in, then we go, instead of trying to do the marketing first, get all the orders in, and then just scramble and put out fires. So you just got to take time to train and then go forward. So I'm just happy with the staff that we have here, and I see great things to come in the future.
Eric, give us your impressions of that ThreadX event.
I loved it. I mean, it just got me pumped up. What was that guy was dancing around the factor?
Johnny Cupcakes?
Cupcakes, yeah. I was just going, God, that guy doesn't even produce T-shirts, and he's making he's just kicking butt. I mean, it was really, very inspirational for me to get back here and get things rolling on there. So hopefully next year they'll do the ThreadX, and I'll be back down there.
I don't know if you knew or not, but Eric and Aaron and myself, Eric Campbell and Marshall Atkinson, we road tripped over and recorded the show on the way over, recorded the show there, recorded the show on the way back. So we were all pretty motivated by all this.
I like that with the cookies in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's it looks like we got told on. So anything you said about Jim, he is there watching. So Jim,
there he is.
Yes, there's
founder of the company. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we haven't gotten Eric here in too much trouble with his dad.
No, right. No.
Well, Eric, hey, we appreciate very much you coming on the show. And well, let's see here. It says somebody, Adam says he saw that video, did a similar video that showed what tasks the employees would be doing. Sent the video to their emails and to our CTS does. Let's see here, and then a video of reclaiming screens. That separated applicants because some wrote back saying that they weren't interested in those tasks. This was a huge help. So somebody's already taken your idea, saw your video, and expanded upon it. So that's
awesome.
what this is all about. That's what this show is all about.
Key on the videos, the dorkier, the better.
Well, that's the thing, is because then it's approachable, and people
Yes.
don't understand that it humanizes you. It
Absolutely.
humanizes you to your customers and as to your potential applicants, because how much better does it feel like you don't have some draconian boss that you're afraid of their iron fist? Because when they see you on the video coming in and doing the, either the sitcom intro or pretending to be a customer and gabbing, they don't see you as this, this boss who's got the iron fist who's going to come down and crush them when something's wrong. They see you as somebody who's working toward this goal. I think it's interesting, though, that the comment was about weeding people out, too. It's not just about getting all the people in that you want. It's saying, okay, this is what the job looks like. This is what our culture looks like.
Yeah.
If you're not here for that, okay. But then, you don't have to apply.
It's not wasting each other's time.
Yeah, right.
Well, the coolest thing is on the video. So when they come in for an interview, they already know who I am and stuff, and I've known them for a whole year, so it's cool. So they know what they're getting into, and so it's a fun interview.
That's awesome.
You're hiring.
That's really great. No, people should absolutely figure that out. We have a comment here for Christian Sheep. The dorkier, the better. That's comforting. I understand that. I feel that. Enmart's working on some videos, and she's probably going to be in them. She's like, dorky is pretty much a given. Christian, don't talk yourself down. I'm not in the video, so it's probably going to be fine. But yeah, dorky videos are fine. That's culture. That says something about the way you operate, and it's fine to be fun, folks. It's what I've always said. I had somebody one time in my shop coming up to me, they're sweating, they was freaking out about a job that's going to, and I stopped and I said, no one's going to die today. We're making shirts look better. We're not even making the shirt. We're making a shirt look better than it did. We're going to be fine. Like, take off the grim face and don't freak out. This is not it's not rocket science, not surgery. Have some fun, folks.
That's something I bring up in all my screen printing classes. I'm like, this is my message to you. It's just a T-shirt. Nobody dies. Everybody relax. Hey, Eric, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. It's been great chatting with you. Some great information. So, hey, where can people find you and Northwest Custom Apparel?
For the industry, you'll see me hanging out in that screen printing marketing Facebook group. And then if you just want to Google us, Northwest Custom Apparel, we're on the website and stuff, and check us out. But I love posting on the screen print marketing group. Every time I have a wild idea, I'll throw it up there. So Stay tuned. More to come.
All right. Well, super. Well, we'll look forward to having you on the show again sometime in the near future. And again, thanks for being on the show.
All right.
All right. Well, Aaron, I hope you're still back there somewhere. We haven't seen your picture for a while, but let's hear a word from our sponsor, Equipment Zone. Aaron, I'm not sure if you're playing the commercial, but we're not hearing the commercial.
We're not getting audio on that. I hate to tell you, sir.
Location for training. Equipment Zone.
Live,
Go to equipmentzone.com. Our show today is sponsored by Equipment Zone. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000 direct-to-garment printer. Equipment Zone is the only Epson reseller who sends a technician to every customer location for training. This is an absolutely free visit to your location. Equipment Zone is also the manufacturer of the #1 pre-treat machine in the industry, the Speed Treater TX. With no compressor and no special tanks, the Speed Treater TX is the easiest and most consistent pre-treat machine available worldwide. Go to equipmentzone.com for the Epson F2000, the Speed Treater TX, and for all your DTG inks and supplies. That's equipmentzone.com. That's equipmentzone.com.
All right, and we appreciate Equipment Zone's longtime sponsorship. We're going to be doing DTG Academy again with Equipment Zone. That's featuring myself, Jay Bassell, Dane Clement, the staff from Equipment Zone. The next one's going to be September 21st and 22nd right here in Phoenix, down in Tempe. It's about 10 minutes from the Sky Harbor Airport. And then we'll be back in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, October 5th and 6th. If you don't know where Franklin Lakes is, that's where the Real Housewives of New Jersey is filmed.
Are you personal friends with them?
I'm not. I've never seen them at the bagel shop or any of the places I frequent there.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, Marianne said, love listening to all, and some great feedback in the chat there from her. So thank you for joining us. And
I made a note of the hiring video. What a great idea that is. I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then Christine says, okay, I'm feeling better about my camera malfunction. Yes. I realized that you could not hear the commercial coming through my speaker if I'm not in the show. So there we go. Fun stuff. All right. Well,
in the podcast version, it'll all be filtered out, so you won't know what we're talking about.
I got to cut this part out now too. All right. All right. Well, Erik, thank you so much for stepping in today and bringing Erik along. It was a great interview. I enjoyed catching it from the backside there. There were, like I said, lots of great comments and stuff going on. And yeah, I was, Terry's going to be pretty happy. I had my yellow legal pad.
Look at that.
Making notes.
Look at that. No, there was a lot to learn from Erik, and I have to say, everybody should go check out what he's doing. They're doing so many, not only new processes and marketing, everything else. He's doing new decoration. He's trying out all this new stuff, and I think that coming from a family shop, I can't encourage everybody enough to take that example and say, it's time to experiment, to do some cool new stuff, and to take that hint. It's if someone's passing you by who's coming on just now, it's time to look at what you're doing and do more than just write orders.
Yeah. Absolutely. No,
thanks really cool. Again to Erik. That was really great interview.
And looking forward to talking more with him in that screen printing marketing group. I get in there every once in a while, but just not enough. Nobody. I'm not much of a screen print guy myself, but the marketing stuff I love. So I'll I'll jump in there more. All right. Well, Erik, back to work, young man. And,
all right, folks.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Erik. All right, Aaron, do you have any events coming up that you're going to be participating in?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking a lot about my SBS videos, Small Business Saturdays, that I've been doing on Saturdays, typically Saturday mornings. But this week, I'm going to be bringing somebody in that's going to help me talk about writing better ad copy. And he actually is overseas. So to accommodate his schedule, we're going to go at 6:15 Eastern, 3:15 Pacific time in the evening or afternoon, depending on where you're at. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and you can check that out over at aaronmontgomery.info/SBS video or through my Facebook page, facebook.com/aaronmontgomery.info. So that's what I've got coming up. Terry, what about you?
Super. Well, tomorrow and Sunday, I have my complete screen printing business course here in Phoenix at Workhorse Products. It's pretty full class, but I know we'll have one or two more today because we always have somebody sign up at the last minute. We do have a little bit more room, so if anybody wants to sign up, you can do that at my website, terrycombs.com. October 1st, right after my daughter and I spend a little time watching the Vans International Surfing Championship out in California. I'm going to be shooting over to Long Beach to do the all-day Epson DTG seminar. It's a free seminar the day before the MBM show opens at the Long Beach Convention Center. August 2nd and through 4th, I'll be exhibiting there at the MBM show. My next complete screen printing complete screen printing business course in Chicago is going to be at Atlas Screen Supply August 18th and 19th. I'll be back August 23rd. Holy cow. I'll be doing my all-day Epson seminar at Secaucus / Meadowlands, New Jersey, and exhibiting there at the MBM show in Secaucus 24th and 25th. September 8th, I'll be doing an intro to DTG printing at the ISS show in Orlando. So that's going to be Saturday of that show at 10:30. And Aaron, all my upcoming events through the end of 2018 are up at terrycombs.com.
All right. Well, that list is probably just too long is the problem, Terry. That's why you get all twisted. You're looking at it and cringing. You go, oh my God, I'm too busy.
To think about how many trips to the airport's involved in all that.
Start sweating and yeah. Well, you are a busy guy, but that's some really awesome stuff. So thanks for sharing all that information with everybody. But Well, what's next year, Terry?
Aaron, it's time for something we started. Gosh, when did we start? It's Five Things. Just the beginning of this year.
Yeah, no, I think it was maybe middle of 2017.
Okay.
Because we did it before we got into the video side too.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, this is it is time for It's Five Things, and it's one of the favorite segments of a lot of our listeners. So you're up this week.
All right. Well, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I cheated, but I could not talk my wife into coming and presenting these. So I'm going to present them for her. And these are 5 things she learned as a new small business owner. So number 1 is the importance of the why. If you don't have a strong enough why for why you're doing this, she's discovered that it makes it very difficult to get through the tough times. So she really had to refocus on getting her why the way she wanted it. And once she felt really comfortable and passionate about it, it really helped her out. So number 2, having and working from a good plan. So all of my discussions and talks about having a business plan and having a marketing plan seemed to sink in with her. So I'm glad she was listening, and helps her kind of stay on track. Number 3, the importance of setting SMART goals. At this point, when I was writing these down, I said to her, "Are you sure you're not just regurgitating all of my videos and whatnot?" But anyhow, but she also said that if she didn't have those SMART goals and didn't set those SMART goals for herself, then she kind of felt lost and didn't really know what she was doing. So having those SMART goals was important for her. Number 4, she says, okay to think outside the box and do things your own way. She spent a lot of time early on kind of listening to everybody else telling her what she should be doing, and it just wasn't her, and she wasn't successful with those things. But once she kind of freed herself from having to do things a certain way, and she was able to kind of do things in her own way and what was best for her, then that worked out for her. And the 5th one, and to me, this would be my number 1, but you must do. That's, I think, a very difficult thing for new business owners, is to just keep doing. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that you might not understand that you are now in charge of doing and going forward with, and you've got no boss to tell you what to do. So doing and not being afraid of failing, and regrouping and doing it again. As I don't even know what the Yoda thing is, but there we go. So that's 5 things for today.
I love it. I love number 4. Do things your own way. A lot of us do get kind of caught up in doing it the right way, or the way somebody else told you to do it. But I think you got to do it your own way to be successful. Aaron, we've got some trade shows coming up that we haven't talked about for a little while. So let me run down that list for us. We've got ASI Chicago, July 25th and 26th. I know that our good friend Jay Bassell is going to be doing a marketing presentation there, and he's pretty excited about doing that. He was talking to me about it yesterday. MBM Long Beach in California is August 2nd through 4th. NNEP Nashville, which is a big show in the embroidery industry, August 17th and 18th. NBM Secaucus / Meadowlands / New York City. They're having a lot of trouble determining what to call that one so people know where it is. But that's August 24th and 25th. ISS Orlando is September 6th through 8th. NBM Indianapolis, big show for NBM. It's they're what they call the Big Show, BIG, September 13th through 15th. Then ISS Fort Worth, huge show for ISS, September 27th through 29th. And then, Aaron, I'll be seeing you at SGIA Expo in Las Vegas, October 18th through 20th. And then we're going to kind of wrap up the show year at NBM Charlotte, November 2nd through 3rd.
Yes, outstanding. Yeah, lots of stuff. I'm reading through that list going, gosh, I used to have to be at all those. So it's nice to be home for a little bit. But
I see 2 that I'm not going to be at.
Ouch. Well, I certainly miss seeing everybody, and you got to get to those shows. And if you have an opportunity, please get to them. Don't take my taking them off as a negative. I think they're very well worth it. It's just something I've done for many, many years, and it's nice to catch up with my family and watch my 7-year-old grow too. So, but I can't wait to get to SGIA, and I think all these other events are fantastic. Real quick,
you're speaking at SGIA.
I am.
Well, right?
I am speaking in the small business symposium that they're having the day before on that Wednesday. And then I've got both marketing topics, another marketing topic as a normal seminar presentation that first day of the show, I believe Thursday. So once we get a little closer, I'll start pumping that a little bit more, but you can certainly sign up today. Go over to sgia.org/2R. What is it? Wait, hold on a second. It's where is that? What was that link? Expo 2RG. Geez, sgia.org/Expo 2RG. All right, Terry, one other thing is Christine helped me out. The quote from Yoda, do or do not, there is no try.
Very good.
I appreciate that.
I don't know that. I don't know that from the movie, but I know it from the Big Bang Theory.
Perfect. All right. Well, Terry, we have come to the close of another show. I want to thank Erik Mickelson from Northwest. He was fantastic. I really enjoyed tuning in and listening, and also want to thank all of our listeners and commenters and everybody interacting with us. It was a great show today.
Absolutely. I want to thank our show producer, Erik Campbell with Deco Network. And thanks, Erik, for jumping in and being a third guest host today. You can also find Erik over at ericcampbell.com. And we also want to thank our sponsors, the Specialty Graphic Imaging Association, SGIA, and Equipment Zone. We very much appreciate your support.
Outstanding. Yeah, next week we are going to be bringing in Don Copeland, who's with Cole Desi, and we're going to talk about UV printers and all things UV printing. He's slid into that world, and we are excited to learn from him about what's going on with UV printers. And we've got lots of questions because I don't know a ton about UV printers, and Terry, I'm not sure what your background is with UV printers, but I'm looking forward to learning.
Absolutely. And we haven't talked to Don in a long time. Don's been on the show, but it's been a few years, I think. So back when Don was in DTG printing. But Aaron, into the show. So until then, he's Aaron Montgomery. I am Terry Combs, and we are the two regular guys.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.